Sometimes when I'm scrolling on my phone and I pass through stuff on Price Chart or something, I'll see game titles that just kind of stick out to me and I'm like, whoa, what is this game? I know a lot of you guys have probably done that too, especially if you go to like the game store or you're looking on eBay or something and you're like, oh wow, what's this? You know, it's just a bunch of curiosity happens. Well, that's kind of one of the reasons why I made this channel in the first place, but the original PlayStation definitely has that vibe for me all the time. I've been taking a liking into more point and click games over the past several months. And one game that caught my eye on the PS1 is Juggernaut. I thought the game looked kind of interesting with all the different things you do, and just the fact that it's a horror adventure game, I was like, you know, I'll give this game a chance. I've played this game for the past couple weeks off and on, and finally beat it, so I definitely have some things I want to discuss about this game, if it's worth your time to check out or not. Sit back, chill, let's go over Juggernaut for the original PlayStation. Juggernaut was made in 1998 in Japan, but released in North America in 1999. It was developed by Will and published by Jaleco. Will is not really known for much. They've made some games that we have gotten, at least in the late 90s and early 2000s. They helped out developing random stuff like Robopon on the Game Boy Color, Daikatana on the Game Boy Color as well. They made Silent Hill, the visual novel, on the Game Boy Advance? I've never even heard of this game before. That is wild. Juggernaut definitely has a plot alright, because this game is freaking crazy. You play as an unnamed protagonist. Your girlfriend, Sarah, who the game is revolved around, you get a call to go over to her house to see what's going on. There's a priest over there, and there's some weird demonic forces going on with Sarah. Sarah pretty much gets captured by this demon, and you get warped to this world that's kind of in Sarah's mind or something like that, and you gotta pretty much become a soul to enter her and take down these microcosms, they're called. They're kind of like all correlated to the evil demon that's doing all the dirty work here. To be honest, even I barely understand the story. It's just crazy though. You have to kill a demon, basically, is what you gotta do to save your girlfriend. Some freaky ass shit. Juggernaut is a point-and-click horror adventure game. The controls also are very easy to understand. The D-pad is actually how you move around, but you're kind of on rails, so you kind of just take the path that it tells you, or you can hold up to check on stuff to use the cursor. X is to select, circle is to cycle through text, triangle is to back out or cancel, L1 is your map, this is your best friend in the game, and R1 is your inventory. The goal of this game is to solve clues, of course puzzles, and find your way to get to the microcosms whenever you access the mansion, and when you get to the microcosms, you solve each mystery of each thing to get one step closer to saving Sarah. The game is linear for the most part, but you can backtrack, and you'll definitely be doing that a lot in the beginning of the game. There's items you'll pick up. It's kind of just like another horror game like Resident Evil or something. You get items and you use them on stuff. There's not really any files in this game, barely. You mainly just talk to people, and that's kind of your context in this game. There's also no combat in this game, obviously, but there are a couple sections later that are kind of like quick time events that are sort of combat. This game, I would say, has sections, and the first section is pretty straightforward. You find your way through this forest, and then you eventually get to this mansion. Then you gotta enter the mansion. Once you're in the mansion, you'll be spending about 20 to 30% of your time in this place, depending on how good you are at these kind of games. The last 50 to 60% of the game is definitely the microcosms, the different little stories I was talking about earlier that you have to go through. In the beginning, you just run around and see these towers and clues, and you use a clock to set times in order to allow you to go to the next area. Then you solve a riddle, all to get killed and become a soul to enter the mansion. There's no front door to the mansion, so you gotta get yourself killed, that way you can float inside. Jeez, what the hell did I sign up for? The mansion, to be real with you, will be the section that will either make or break the game for you. You begin as a soul, and it can only go through little holes in the wall to help you navigate through the place. Your map conveniently shows you the doors and holes that you can access. You can't open doors or pick up items though while as a soul. You need to obtain a body. You can possess an adult body which can open up doors, as well as being a child too to go into tiny little places that you normally can't as an adult. To be honest, I don't even understand how the child fits through these doors. These doors are about the size for like a cat maybe. You'll be bouncing back between the child and adult often to solve riddles as well as activate mechanisms. There is about zero guidance to tell you on what to do in this mansion. The priest is kind of your guide in this game, and he'll tell you some things, but not that often, and usually not too helpful on what you need to do. He'll just kind of tell you the end goal. You are pretty much on your own. You're looking around, finding random things, and you put them in your inventory, and you're just trying to find the next task to complete. In order to clean rooms out, you gotta swap between bodies, like I mentioned earlier, constantly to keep on changing up how you can access certain doors to get certain items, and then doing it all over again. This is the biggest issue with this section. It is a damn slog going back between the adult body and the child body. The adult body is found on the first floor at the very bottom of the map, and to get to the child, it's pretty much on the bottom of the map, but on the second floor, so it's a very, very long walk in between. You swap between them all the time, and it is tedious as hell. You'll pick up an item or activate something as the adult, then you'll find out you need the child to access the next thing. You gotta go all the way back to where you found the adult in that chamber, then go to the child's chamber, pick that body up, and then go back to what you were doing. And then after that, you'll have to keep rinsing and repeating. Imagine playing, say, Resident Evil, and you gotta play as Chris, and to get to a certain area that only he can access, you do it, you get through, but then to find out only Jill can access it, and you go back to swap between Jill. That's pretty much the exact same thing here if Resident Evil did something like that. It just doesn't make any sense why they decided to make this an option in the game. Couldn't they have just made it to where you could swap between the adult and the child on the fly in, say, your inventory? At least you can save the game, and saving in this game, you use the pendant. You can save anywhere, and it's very convenient, so I wish more games would do that, because that is kind of nice. There are some interesting puzzles in this mansion. There's one section that you need to know a combination of the lock on the door. There's a picture book beside it, but it has a missing photo. You gotta find the photo in the mansion to unlock that combination. There's also this press where you put some ore into it and it gives you a key. It kind of has a combination down below on how to do it. Another one too, you use this mirror in one of the microcosms before you enter, and you reveal a door, and to break that door, because you can't see it on the wall, you use an axe. And I just think some of these puzzles are very unique. It just sucks that you gotta bounce between the bodies back and forth to do these puzzles. When you finally get to the microcosms, there's 4 rooms with random shit in each one where you have to solve stuff in a riddle, and then you'll eventually warp to a strange realm. A fun fact to note too is whenever you do this, you gotta change the game disc. There's 3 discs in this game, and you actually will be changing back to disc 1 sometimes when you're done with these microcosms. Thought that was kind of weird. I've never seen a game do that on the PlayStation. This part of the game is definitely the meat and potatoes, because all these feature kind of like episodes, and they all have different stories going on, and you play as a whole different character. As I mentioned earlier, all these stories are connected to the demon that's taken over Sarah. Apparently you're going through like a parallel world or going to different time periods or something like that. I'll go over briefly a few of the examples you will encounter in this part of the game. This part of the game, you're on this island when you wake up, and you go by the name Yugasa. You have to prove your worth and fight this guy, and you end up winning. Well, you get accepted into this tribe, and everyone's having a festival. You go to the festival the next day, somebody doesn't show up. You're sent to go find this person, and it turns out that there's blood everywhere. You go back, you're suspicious, and everyone thinks that you're the killer. Some of these cutscenes, by the way, are hilarious, because it's FMVs, and it's just very questionable what they did with the designs. This part here was very interesting. You're in the future, and you have to lay low on finding out who's screwing over the insurance company, and it's kind of like all like you're on the internet. You're just clicking on stuff. I like the way they did this approach, because instead of going through hallways like you have been, you're in the World Wide Web, cyber surfing here. But you do a few things at the hospital, you ask some questions, and that way you can get deeper into who the mastermind is of taking over everything. This one, you're in this prison island facility, and you're going through activating all of these computer terminals and putting in passwords with clues all around the area to see what's going on with all of the prisoners that they're doing, because they're killing them all and doing some weird stuff. And you're trying to find the warden who's in charge of this to see why they're doing all this dirty business. That's just scratching a few of the stories in this game. There's definitely more, and I will admit, the stories in this game are insane, and they kind of thought very well on how they go. And I'll admit, I was having a lot of fun with some of these stories, just seeing what was going to happen next. Juggernaut is a very wild experience, and the difficult question here to answer if this game's worth your time to check out or play It's very complicated. If the mansion gives you bad vibes from what I told you already at the beginning of the video, then you may not want to play this, because you need a lot of patience to get through that stuff, because there's a lot of loading in this game. There's a lot of loading when you move and stuff like that all the time. If you do have a lot of patience and you enjoy figuring out how to solve everything and chase that high, then you will definitely like this one. The different stories are quite interesting and are paced very well. They're about an hour or so apart, so it's just kind of nice to know when you beat it, you move on to the next, and it just doesn't drag on for the rest of the game. The mansion, though, is a big slog, and it can make or break the game for you. I'd advise getting some music or having some podcast or a show on in the background while you play through that. It's definitely slow with getting around, but I kind of got used to it personally. The music's not bad either. I thought the music fit the atmosphere very well with all the places you go to, and the puzzles were interesting, even though they're cryptic in the mansion part at least. They're very cool to solve once you do. I do think, for an experience standpoint, there's really not one like this game. This game is bizarre, and it's very dark, creepy, and freaking weird. You don't see stuff like this too often around this time period of this magnitude. I'd say give Juggernaut a chance if you really like horror games. This game is very obscure, and it's only stuck on the original PlayStation, so if you want to play this game complete in box, you would have to go for almost $100. But you could go the loose route on this one, which isn't too bad on the price. Well, that's all I've got to say about this game. I'm gonna go play something a lot more lighthearted now because of all the weirdness this game's got going on. I appreciate you guys for sticking around to the very end to watch this video. If you got anything to say, leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you got, especially about the weird stuff that you just experienced in this one. Until next time, thanks for watching. Y'all take it easy.